Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, mysterious books of the Renaissance, Cornelius Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy. This thing is basically a user's manual for the hidden rules of the universe. But to even begin to get our heads around it, we've got to start with a really weird question.
Okay, picture this. A huge wooden ship. Its sails are totally full of wind, and it's just powering through the ocean. Now, could one single, tiny fish really bring all of that momentum to a dead stop? I mean, based on everything we know about physics today, that sounds completely nuts, right? Impossible.
Well, according to Agrippa, the answer is not just yes, it's a resounding yes. And he wasn't talking about this like it was some kind of myth or legend. For him, this was a straight-up fact of nature. To understand how he thought this was even possible, we have to totally reboot our own minds and load up a completely different operating system for reality.
You know, when we hear the word magic from the 16th century, our minds usually jump to spells, potions, that kind of stuff. But for Agrippa, it was something way deeper. It wasn't about casting spells. It was about understanding the universe's hidden source code, a complete system for how absolutely everything connects and interacts.
I mean, listen to Agrippa himself. He called it the most perfect and chief science, and a sacred and sublimer kind of philosophy. The whole point wasn't just to, bend nature to your will. The real goal was to contemplate it, to understand its secret powers, its virtues, and all the hidden friendships and rivalries between all things.
All right, so how in the world do you start to learn this language? Well, the very first step is to accept a pretty wild idea. That everything, every single stone, every plant, every animal, has secret powers that aren't obvious at first glance.
Agrippa calls these occult virtues. Now, the word occult here just means hidden. That's it. Think about it. Why does a lodestone attract iron? You can't see the force, right? The cause is hidden. For Agrippa, this was all the proof he needed that the world was just humming with these invisible properties.
And these invisible properties were all driven by 2 basic forces: friendship, or sympathy, where things are just naturally drawn to each other and help each other out, and enmity, or antipathy, where things just naturally push each other away, or even destroy one another. And this wasn't some cute metaphor. For Agrippa, this was literally the physics of the universe.
For instance, he'd point out how a vine just naturally wants to grow up an elm tree. That's a perfect example of botanical friendship. They just work well together. On the flip side, you've got a natural enmity between a lion and a rooster. Yeah, ancient lore said that the crow of a rooster would absolutely terrify a lion. A kind of built-in, natural opposition. Friendship also explains something like the bond between a huge whale and a tiny little pilotfish that guides it. It's a natural cooperation, just written into their very being. And get this, it even applies to minerals. It was believed that if you put a diamond next to a lodestone, it would just cancel out its magnetic power. Why? Because they have a natural disagreement. This web of sympathies and antipathies connects absolutely everything. But what determines these relationships in the first place?
To get to the bottom of where these hidden virtues come from, we need to look at the basic building blocks of matter itself. And for Agrippa, and pretty much everyone back then, that meant the 4 classical elements.
So everything in the physical world was some kind of combination of fire, air, water, and earth. Simple enough, right? And each element had 2 main qualities. Fire is hot and dry, so naturally its total opposite is water, which is cold and moist. Earth is dry and cold, so its contrary has to be air, which is moist and hot. This elemental balance or imbalance is what gives every single thing its basic nature. Now, of course, nothing is just one element. It's all a mixture, but everything has a dominant elemental vibe. Stones, because they're solid and heavy, are fundamentally earthy. Metals, which you can melt, are seen as being primarily watery. Plants, growing up into the sky, are airy, and animals, full of life and heat, are essentially fiery. This is like the first layer of an object's identity card.
Okay, but that just pushes the question back another step, doesn't it? Where do these properties come from? Why is a lion courageous? Why is gold so special? For Agrippa, the answer wasn't down here on Earth at all. It was up in the heavens.
This is the absolute key to the whole system. Everything on Earth is tuned to a specific celestial body, like a radio receiver picking up a very specific station. You can think of the planets and stars as constantly broadcasting their unique virtues down to us.
and those signals are picked up by all the corresponding plants, animals, and stones here on Earth.
Let's run through a few examples. You'll see how it works. Take the sun. Anything under the sun's influence is noble, courageous, radiant. So its metal is gold, its animal is the lion, its bird, the eagle. They all share in the sun's signature vibe of royalty and power.
Now, what about Mars? Well, you can probably guess. Its influence is fiery, sharp, aggressive. Its metal is iron for weapons. Its animals are the warlike horse and the hungry wolf. Its stones, like the hard diamond and the powerful lodestone, share that quality. Even its taste is bitter and burning.
And let's look at the moon. Here we find things connected to water, to change, to the night. Its metal is silver. Animals like the cat, whose eyes change with the light, or watery creatures like the otter and the frog, they're all lunar. The moon's influences over the cycles of ordinary, everyday life.
Okay, let's pull all this together. We've got these hidden occult virtues. They're driven by the elements, and the elements get their charge from the planets. Now it's time to see the grand, unified theory that connects the entire system, from a simple pebble on the ground all the way up to God.
Agrippa saw the universe in 3 tiers. Think of it like a cosmic waterfall. At the very top, you have the intellectual world. This is the realm of God, of pure ideas. Then, below that is the celestial world, the stars and planets we've been talking about. Their job is to act like transformers, taking those pure ideas and beaming them down as virtues. And at the bottom, that's us, the elementary world, where all that stuff gets received by matter.
But here's the really cool part. It's a two-way street. The virtue flows down from above, but a wise person, what Agrippa would call a magician, could use their knowledge of this entire system to trace those connections all the way back up, to actually contemplate and understand the divine source of everything.
So at the end of the day, that's what Agrippa's magic really was. It wasn't about superstition or casting spells. It was a holistic science, a really profound philosophy. It was all designed to learn how to read the hidden language of the cosmos and to appreciate what he called the harmonious consent that connects a star to a stone, a planet to a plant, and the heavens right down to the earth.
It's a worldview that is just so different from our own, isn't it? And it makes you wonder, while we've gained this incredible power to analyze the world into tiny little pieces, what invisible connections, what poetry, what hidden harmonies might we have forgotten how to even look for anymore?